everybody. Welcome to the show.
But
Welcome. It is Wednesday. We are here. That is a 4, but it was a 1. Um, but we are here again on a Wednesday to do how
I
times
crapped
have
out.
changed. All right. Today we got Ken Masters and Egyptian. All right.
Good
And
morning,
we're
everyone.
discussing the black superhero. All right. I'm pretty sure some of you guys might be familiar with him. If you're not, you've seen somebody in a costume. Right. So the first question, it has nothing to do with the subject. How's the weather?
It's
Looks
storming
nice
over here.
outside. Looks pretty nice. It's probably a little cold.
hmm Hello, Rose. It's a great 75. Yeah, it's kind of
The
it's a
summer
little
is
over.
over.
It's
I'm
a
gonna
little
cook on the grill
overcast
this
out here.
weekend.
Yeah, yeah, it's a little clear sky. Little rainy over here. All right. So, what do you guys think about black cosplay?
Personally, man, I can go sit here and lie about it. Every year when I used to work at GameStop, you already knew Comic Cons in town. You see them all the time. I don't really like it, but at the same time, I'm not gonna sit there and dump on someone's freedom of expression because if it's their favorite character, it's their favorite character. You know what I'm saying? But I do think personally it is under misrepresented because the Japanese are racist towards black people. So, you're not going to see it as much as you would like to, but you do see people that are black dressing up like Tanjiro and Nezuko from Demon Slayer. So, I mean, they still get paid. The only thing they can really do about that is like try to create their own narrative to get what I'm going to in the future call black anime out there to get their own stories to actually make it look like it makes sense. Because there's a lot of great African stories out there that should be told, and they can be put into children's books, or we can turn them into a visual representation of anime to actually make people want to watch it and understand. But as far as comics go, you got
Gotcha.
like Blade and stuff, all that generic stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Go ahead. Go ahead, Egyptian. What you thinking, bro?
I mean, I honestly I do agree. I do think the Japanese are racist when it comes to black people and anime in general. But it's 2024. We doing what we want to do. You feel me? So you can be who you want. You know what I'm saying? I done seen some big girls try to be Sailor Moon. You know what I'm saying? Like you can do what you want to do nowadays. Like, you know what I'm saying? You can do what you want to do. So
Right.
it don't matter what race you are. If you love something, you love it. You know what I'm saying? You can portray that character. You know what I mean? Don't matter your
I,
race.
I know
and
coming from where me and Ken grew up at, we Comic Con's like one of the biggest things in our city, and a lot of us that's like everybody goes down there and works or walks around or whatever. And one thing you always see is you there was no like real big black craze with anime, until like recent years. Like there was always those sprinkle of people, they would go down there, but they wouldn't dress up. And then it took time and time for other people, bigger stars or bigger influencers, to start doing things, you know for us to actually want to come out and do it. So it's dope. The biggest thing is like Halloween. Halloween, who you dressing up as for Halloween? um are you gonna dress up as a black character? Are you gonna just dress up as like a nurse or a doctor or something? Like, are you gonna represent the black culture with your costume?
And I
I
mean,
mean,
I think that anime really didn't even get as big as far as black culture until like Dragon Ball Z and like the Adult Swim boom. Because even before then, I was watching Inuyasha and Sailor Moon when it was only
Right.
in Japanese. You know what I mean? So like now, like once that happened and they kind of Americanized some anime, it made it more fluid for people to be into anime. Thank you, baby. It made people be more into anime. You know what I'm saying? So I just think that was like one thing that like made more people interested that probably wouldn't have been interested before, was it becoming Americanized. And it's still even anime now that if you don't understand Japanese or got subtitles, you can't watch it.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. Like as far as like black culture goes, you only had a handful of options before the '90s that you could dress up as for Halloween. And to be honest with you, everybody already knows where I'm going with this. It was Winston Zeddemore from Ghostbusters. If you was a boy, because you're not gonna dress up as Martin Luther King or Malcolm X, that scared the hell out of white people. And Maybe Rick James or something weird, you know what I'm saying? Or Prince, if your mama wanted to help you style a wig or something. But nowadays, you have a couple more characters you can go as, Obama, things like that. And we have all these other heroes that we're coming up with in comics and in popular media and on shows. So it's getting
Now,
better.
the biggest, all right, so come on now, like, all right, these past couple years, we know that like the biggest things with costumes have been the big boom in black characters. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it's been from black superheroes on TV to commercials where you see mostly African Americans in commercials. Like it's like all of a sudden everybody is realizing the flavor. Now, I have a child. You know, a lot of you guys have children or nieces, nephews, or you just got eyes. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? One of the biggest superheroes to come out recently that's just taken over is the new Spider-Man. You
And
know,
see
the Miles
that's
Morales version. Now every black kid ran out and bought a pair. You because you see the media. First thing, Jordan, Air Jordan, Nike, they re-released the Jordan ones, red and black, because they played
Mhm.
right into the movie. They're like, whoa, all these kids want to be Spider-Man again.
It
Let's
shows.
release the sneakers. So they released the sneakers. Now every kid is running out grabbing the shoes. And now every kid's like, oh, I want to be Spider-Man, right? It's like, well, not just Spider-Man. I want to be Miles Morales, not Peter, you know.
Yeah. And it's sad because it actually caused a lot of pushback when they first introduced that character. He was actually like a lot of people don't know he was mostly Puerto
Hello,
Rican.
hello.
I
Thank you
mean,
for the love.
he was Puerto Rican straight up. He wasn't black, none of that. And then they're like, you know what? We got a black writer. He wants to try something different. He's Afro Latino, and we want to try and put some flavor in here, because he's from I forgot what part of New York he's from. I think he's from Brooklyn, I think. But he's not from Queens or
Yeah,
the
the second
corniac
one.
part of Queens that Peter's from. So he's like he's urban. We gotta make him more like what the people are. And they didn't like it. And that writer actually got a
But
lot of
when
death
you
threats
think
too.
the thing about it is when you think about New York, you think about the different diversity in New York, you think of
It's hip
Puerto
hop mecca.
Ricans, you think of blacks, you think of
Cubans.
Jamaicans, Cubans, like you think of that kind of stuff. So representing Miles' parents is his dad is African American and his mom is Boricua, you know what I'm saying? And they put it
Yeah, straight
together,
up.
you know what I'm saying? So that takes out of both the demographic in New York. It's like he's Spanish, he's Latin, he's Cuban. You don't know exactly what he is, you know what I'm saying? But you know his dad's black,
Oh
you
yeah, you
know.
for sure know that if you watch both of those movies. His dad straight up tells him. Well, it's funny though
So,
because
Taurus.
Victor.
Go ahead.
So
Go
what
ahead,
I so
yeah,
Egyptian.
what I want to bring up is, I think that the Black Superman even like the Black Spider-Man, because there's about to be a Black Superman, but the Black Spider-Man, I think that is like a bridging of superheroes. Because when you think about like
Mm,
1977, when you're talking about like Black Lightning, you know what I'm saying? Like you've never
Blade.
like people have never portrayed Black Lightning as like a Halloween character. And even today, it's very few people that even talk about Black Lightning. He was one of the first black superheroes. One more commonly is like Storm from the X-Men, you know what I'm saying? So it was characters like that. Because I think that's like the first black female superhero, you know what I mean? Especially the most common one, but I just think that like characters like that, there aren't any remakes of those characters. There aren't any
heavy.
remakes of those kind of superheroes. That message was so political that
Badge.
they shunned them. They shunned them. Even
You gotta, yeah,
Look at
because of
Black
that
Panther.
time. That
Somebody
time
said
for
this to me
sure.
yesterday too. Like, you think about Black Panther, he was dead in the second movie.
Literally,
He
yeah.
was dead in the second. The main superhero is dead in his own movie. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like the representation of, what I mean, just generally being any ethnicity and other than white and being a superhero. It's kind of like it gives that kind of weight where it's like, oh, they trying to shun him and they trying to down him. But I mean, that's what any
See,
superhero. That's what any
the
superhero you
thing
think
about
about.
it, Egyptian, is like, all right, if you're familiar with the comics of how Black Panther was, Black Panther died in the comic books for real, right?
Exactly. In the very first
But
one, he died in the very first
exactly.
one.
So it was kind of weird how it was like the conspiracy of the comics versus the versus the universe, like how he actually passed away. Yeah, it was weird for us. Like that was like, whoa, that was kind of like a chill. Like he's sick, he's
Thank you,
doing this,
Navi.
but it's what the movie did for everybody. You never seen so many people doing black. Every kid was Black Panther that Halloween. everybody's having Black Panther weddings. Everybody's doing this. They're breaking the box offices with this character, you know, because he did so much. And if you guys remember, we talked about it before, Egyptian, episode of the X-Men when the X-Men first met Black Panther, and he beat up everybody.
Yo, he was handling that.
He beat up the whole X-Men squad, and the only person that I don't think he fought Storm. That was the only, and then he ended up marrying Storm. You know.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
but
like,
I mean, even more politically, like when you talk about Black Panther more politically, like I think that generally that character alone, you know what I mean? Even in the beginning, when it was in X-Men, it was a representation of the Black Panther Party as a superhero. You know, and now, so when you watch the movie now, children who don't know anything about the Black Panther Party, as that to be a representation of what that character actually meant, it just shows that he dies the same way it did in the comic books. That was what they were politically trying to stress to people, and that's like a certain amount of propaganda. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so like I said, I think things like that give a little bit more element to what you watch and how you look at even the superheroes that we idolize today. You know what I'm saying? Like a Black Spider-Man.
The ending of the first Black Panther, he went back to the hood and decided to rebuild the hood.
And he also decided to let them know, hey, just so y'all know, Wakanda's real.
I only watched the second one time, so I'm not really familiar on exactly.
I didn't watch the second one.
I remember how it started, but I can't remember how it ended for sure.
Yo, Navi, I can't co-sign that. Shout out to Stan Lee, because Stan Lee actually stole a lot of Black comic artist ideas for pennies on the dollar in order to make himself look like the good guy in the 70s, which is why we no longer have the very first Black hero, Lion Man. Lion Man only got one issue, and we don't have him around anymore, which led to Black Panther. And he stole that from
he had a habit of going to smaller comic books, buying comic books from lower level writers, and just basically stealing their entire character and buying the rights to their book so they could destroy it. So he could say, I wrote it, I came up with the idea, it's mine. It's hundreds of superheroes that Stan Lee just basically stole the rights to and just killed so that other people couldn't have such a good idea.
Yep, the X-Men. They were called the original Canadian X-Men.
Yep.
And Fox and Tubi. I mean, Tubi, everybody knows Tubi has our Black, the
diaspora.
But yeah, we go in there, we see all the Black movies on Tubi,
and they're good too.
Some of them are good, some of them are not, but the money's going to Fox, and we know that Fox backs again. Fox isn't like Black friendly. Well, I wouldn't even just say Black friendly, just multiracial friendly.
Correct. What I'm saying? They're owned by Disney.
All right, guys, what do you guys think about characters like Black Lightning and Luke Cage fighting the man in the hood?
Now, first, I wanted to go back a little bit to what Egyptian was talking about. Black Lightning only gets overshadowed because of Static Shock, and that's just because he's Static Shock's mentor, and they don't really put him in the Justice League as much because they're trying to hype up Static Shock for the younger generation. And then before Black Lightning and Static Shock, if you remember the show, we had Soul Power, the man with the green lightning. So, you know what I'm saying?
Even trying to bring that character back with Freakazoid.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, but even with Static Shock, and it's so great that you brought Static Shock up too. I wasn't really going to talk about Static, but Static Shock was the very first Black superhero that they used to market lower level restaurants like McDonald's and Burger King. And what's up, Kush? So when they tried to do that, they were really trying to gear those characters towards the Black community. And that kind of killed the character. Like, that killed the toys. It killed the characters. There's a lot of companies that didn't even want to manufacture Black superheroes as toys, Black superhero toys.
What was sad about that was I remember the show growing up, and I think I just got ready to enter 9th grade when it got canceled. And it was only because they were talking about LGBT, because his main homeboy Richie was white, which was his sidekick, by the way. And he came out as gay on the show, and he talked to his pops about it, and he was like, is that your boy? He's like, yeah. He's like, then you got to ride with him. Can't judge him for that. And that was like a woke lesson for a lot of us, because it really was at a time when
you're not going to see that kind of stuff. Like,
right.
Cartoons in general, as kids, there was so much different things going on in cartoons that we don't realize, until we get older. Like cartoons like Ren and Stimpy, you know what I'm saying? Cow and Chicken. The Powerpuff Girls, Yeah, where you see all these different things in cartoons now, where you're like, whoa, wait a minute, like that was
Yeah,
Cartoon
they was just
Network
show
was
they
an
was just show they
epicenter.
was just showing us these kind of
Cartoon
things.
Network was an experiment by Nickelodeon. It was an experiment so that because a lot of people and children would stay up late to watch cartoons. So Cartoon Network developed cartoons that had inner situative propaganda for children. So even cartoons back then, like Static Shock, they didn't mind taking a risk by talking about a gay male on the show because they were like, this is the place to take the risk. That this is the place to be risque. Because if we lose it, it doesn't matter. It's
right.
mostly black anyway, and they already planned on it failing. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But even then, it caused like now we use controversy as content versus then where they didn't. They shunned controversy. They shunned that kind of energy. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like the wave has changed, and that's why it's easier now. Even when you watch cartoons now, they got all kinds of cartoons that talk about transgenders and everything. You know what I'm saying? Because nowadays it's supposed to be something that we're comfortable with expressing. You know what I'm saying?
The
Where then
easiest way to ease people into things is to show it in their everyday lives on stuff that they see on TV, you know.
and
So
introduce
far,
it to the
yeah,
children.
far as that, yeah,
If you
because
teach the
you
kids,
get them
adults
ready,
have
you
to
get
learn.
yeah, exactly, because it well that too, but if you teach the kids when they grow up, they already know. So, and a lot of times, you know, when you have certain, you know, kids teach their parents stuff all the time, like you just said, you know, when it's like, hey, mom, look, this is my homework, or hey, look, this is this. That's why they had the big situation, you know, a couple years ago where kids were learning
Critical race theory.
they was learning that, and then like, you know, when you sex education, when they was teaching them both sides of sex education, also when kids could go to school and be like, well, I'm not a little boy or a little girl, I'm a cat. You know what I'm saying? And kids can
I
say that they're
identify as
kid.
two-faced.
I can be a cat, and they actually had kids that had litter boxes in schools where I don't have to use the bathroom. I go to the litter box
Who
because
gonna
that's
claim
what I
that?
want. You know what I'm saying?
Teacher.
Or well, I think they was calling them fluffies or something like that. It was in like New Hampshire where all the kids were like dressed up like rabbits and stuff. And
Uh-huh.
that's how they wanted to come
Furry.
to school.
Furries.
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 They
Me and Ken
wanted to
know.
be
Me and Ken
yeah, all right,
know.
yeah. So they wanted to come to school. It was like, I'm not a little boy or a little girl, I'm a rabbit or I'm a
I dated
dog.
a girl that was a
You know what I'm
furry.
saying?
They got
So
people talking about they transracial now. Talking about, oh, I identify as Filipino. They had like white dude talking about I identify as South African. I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah, there's a
And they
dude he's
change.
trending right now online, a white guy for identifying as a Kenyan man.
right. All right. So do you feel like all right, so do you feel like I mean, because we're not in school anymore, do you feel like the schools are like teaching proper Black History Month? Do you think it had expanded or it got less?
Mm. I mean, who you first, Ken?
To be honest with you, I don't. I had a teacher named Mr. Makalani that actually made it a point when we had little things in our schools like the Simba Club and things like that. He would touch on the Black history and teach us a little bit of stuff, but you know we couldn't go into all of that because of how the curriculum was going to be set up. But to be honest with you, every day, like Morgan Freeman said, is Black history. So I mean, I'm still learning about some things that Black people invented, but it doesn't just stop at that. It goes with, you know, how you actually move in a community and actually help to influence it. Like the Black Lives Matter movement, you know, how that came out and everybody is like realizing now it wasn't really what it was. But you saw how many people jumped on a bandwagon that weren't
By a
Black.
white woman
Yeah,
anyway.
that was
So
trying to run around and put them picket fences signs in their yard to keep their houses from getting destroyed and stuff. And I
mhm.
remember when I used to do DoorDash when I was homeless a couple years ago in like 2022, 2021, and I saw that and it was a mixed family. I was just like, dude, you know, that's kind of disrespectful. I felt because I was
All
like,
right, Junior.
you're putting that in your yard, but you're not using it and doing what you should with it with the educational side with your kids. So how does that make you look?
It's easy to be like we support Black, but do you teach Black? You know,
That was just like when our
that's the
parents were coming
thing.
up, when they were like,
Uh,
"Oh, you know, if you don't turn your porch light off in San Diego, the Klan gonna come through and shoot your house up." My grandma left her damn porch light on.
we
She didn't give
never
a damn.
we didn't believe in that kind of stuff because for one, we grew up in a we didn't, you know, we only know one area of our city to be racist for real. Well, like not really one area, but like a whole area, but over there. We don't go over there. We
East
don't go, you
County,
know, East County. Yeah. East County's like the area where you don't want to get caught in at night and all that good kind of
Santee.
stuff.
Yup.
But we didn't have to worry about that kind of stuff, you know. growing up because we were sheltered by our parents for the most part. My
Yep.
mom and dad taught me Black history. Grandparents taught me Black history growing up. We knew all that stuff, and what we didn't get from school, we got at home.
Well, your family from the south,
Uh,
so they weren't worried about it.
my family from the north actually.
Oh,
So
really?
that yeah, my family from the north. They're not from the south. We're not the only trace we have is we have Jamaican roots, and then when they came over here, they went straight to. I mean, I got some family in Indiana, but they most of them are in the north, like up north. You know what I'm saying? So we didn't really experience those kind of things. Egyptian, sir. All right.
So when I was younger, I went to an Arabic curriculum school, and my father was a Muslim. He raised us Muslim, so we learned Arabic. But their curriculum in school was different. Like it's not like reading, science, math. Like those are what I like to call the Rockefeller methods of learning. Because Rockefeller invented school systems. You ever wonder why schools are named after people? You know what I mean? Well, that's because Rockefeller invented doing that. The same reason that hospitals are done that way. And he invented the school curriculum and what people learn in schools. You know what I'm saying? That's how systems are controlled as to what people know and how they know them. So you
Right.
don't
They
learn how to
adopted the
balance a
foreign.
checkbook or
Yeah.
save any money or write a check or do a job application. So after you've learned what they say is the basic curriculum for learning, reading and writing, those are like the simplest of cavemen like learning tools, learning techniques, communication. But when you get past that, it's no real learning in school. It's just enough for them to get paid to have you there. So one thing that I learned in our curriculums, there were things like that, like learning how to do your taxes, learning the law. We learned law, we learned taxes, we learned reading, we learned effective history. Like when I was in regular school, one question we were taught to ask is, who invented that? That was a common question. And we would all say it as a group in the class. Anytime they would name an invention or anytime that they would name a point in history, they would say, who invented that? So when I started asking that in school, most teachers would say, I don't know. Now, you know who George Washington is. You know who Paul Revere is. But who invented the saddle he rode? Who invented the lantern he lit? Who invented the candle that he was lighting? Who paved the path that he rode to say the British were coming? So these were questions that people are saying, I don't know. And that's how history works. They only want you to know.
They teach you.
I have
They
no
teach
religion.
you.
Religion is a word that means something you do daily.
What's the guy? They teach you who was shot in the Boston Tea Party.
Crispus Attucks.
They teach
He
you
was the
that.
very first. He was the very first American who was sacrificed to kick the war off for us to get our independence. And I didn't learn that until I watched Luke
They
Cage. As sad as
that's
that
how
is.
they'll get you behind. They'll get you behind something by saying, "Oh, well, you guys are involved too." All
And
right.
he was. And that's a sad story how blacks were treated in every single serious ass war we've had since the revolution, all
And
the way
those
up
were
until
epic.
even now.
Those were epic events at that time too. Like so epic, it was unheard of for a black man to stand up and get killed first and say, "Look, this is why I started." They made sure they did not teach people that, because that was part of what even Willie Lynch was teaching, and Rockefeller knew that too. If you show them they have power, if you show them they have meaning, if you show them that they have standard, then they will have it. If you show them that they don't, then they will feel like they meant and mean nothing. And it's been happening for, that's what 400 years of oppression is. Like most people say, what is 400 years of oppression? Because that was one question we would learn to ask. So what is 400 years of oppression? Oh, well, it's years of people having the same mindset that was taught to them from 50 years before,
Right.
from their parents'
Chocolate.
parents. You know what I'm saying?
You know,
So
Nav, they only have one. It's only I'm only known of like one or two schools named after him, and there's definitely one there in Boston. All right, guys, quick shift. Black Lightning on Black Lightning, they was pushing a drug on the street.
What was it called again?
Green was it green light or something like that?
Something like that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it gave people powers.
Yeah, so pretty much this is the correlation pretty much. So you're on the street. They were giving it to kids at that.
The
So
100.
yeah, they were giving
Corny ass
the
game.
kids the drug, and they instantly got like superpowers and stuff, and they were able to be super strong and different things
They
like
just made a
that.
movie about that too, about
Why
that
do you
episode, because it was one of the most controversial episodes. It's called
It actually
Project
was.
Power with Jamie Foxx. It's the
Right.
What is
same
his name?
exact thing.
They did the same,
What
yeah, the
isn't it
same thing
Cookie or
in
something
there.
like that in there?
They did. So once they showed it in Black Lightning, it started coming out like Project Power. Then it was I forget the other one. I'll have to give it to you guys later. But pretty much, what do you think that, what do you think that was showing mostly, like that they're dealing drugs to kids? How do you feel like that's going, I guess correlating with today's society?
Propaganda.
I think that was the same thing, propaganda. But it's unfortunate to say it, but it is the truth. I'm not gonna lie. It is one of the reasons why the show got canceled, because they showed such a circular perspective on the show that they didn't, the powers that be didn't like it, because you had a black man who came in and he was the principal, but he was also the hero, trying to help these kids and let them know you don't got to do this. There's another way. Use your brain, get educated, get up off the streets and go to college. And he was, he was in the show. He was motivating these kids like, get off the streets, don't do this. Use your brain. I can help you study if you have a problem. And you saw the 100 was like, nah, bail that. And they was trying to get at his daughter and everything. And he had a struggle just like every other black man does, where he's like, I'm a hero, but I'm also a hero to these kids as a principal. So
It was
I can't cross that
a
line.
double front, because
Yeah.
in the show it was a lot going on. They had clones, they had all kinds of stuff going on in there. But you think, like, so you got the 100 dealing drugs to kids, right? So we know that was something
Busting
going
guns.
on
Yeah.
then,
Yeah.
and now, you know what I'm saying? Now we have the fentanyl outbreak, right?
Yep.
Fentanyl is real big. Kids are getting the drugs. People are sending the kids, because they just look like little, they look like pills. They look like Smarties. You know what I'm saying? So now we got the drugs on the street that the kids are getting, but then we also looking at TV and we're seeing them get the same thing on TV. Every time you watch a TV show, you're like, oh, this could be going on in real life.
It
And
is.
they take
That's what
real
I mean
life
by propaganda
scenarios. Yeah,
too.
they take real life scenarios and put them in movies, and then we watch them, and then we're like, oh, okay. Like there's something about Mondays where they had the sisters, thank you.
0.7.
They had the seven sisters, right? The seven sisters, and what they were doing, they were supposedly freezing people until the population was under control, and they were really burning them,
Yeah.
So, you hear about places like China where they're only allowing people to have one kid. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Or you hear about these other countries where they're like, oh, you can only have two kids or one kid, and then it's an automatic tube tie kind of situation, you know. So these different things are put in our face, but we're just watching them as regular TV, not knowing that the agenda is already in process. We watch movies like iRobot. Now we have the big boom in technology in Northern California, with robotic cars,
Well, you gotta love robots too.
or we have fully automated restaurants that are all machine ran restaurants, and we're going to the restaurant, robots delivering your food, they have drones with Amazon delivering groceries,
And pizza. And you got them female
all that.
robots that you just marrying
Yeah,
And
that
like
too.
and
and
sticking
that's
it
why I
to.
said propaganda, because if you think about, like movies and shows even back then said two things. The first thing that is said is there's a problem in everyday communities that something needs to be done about. That was the main idea of the entire thing. Kids were being drugs, and then the superhero got to come along and change the community. But in real life, there is no superhero to change the community. We're the superhero. That was the message. And because of America
Yeah,
propaganda,
Navi.
because of the way the government ran, because it's ran on street drugs, that is exactly why it was banned. That's why things like that are put into movies as a fictional tale.
What up,
You know what I'm
Tay?
saying? It's meant to be
What's up, Lord?
fictional, because it's just an idea. It's like a dream. That's why a lot of people shun those kind of mindsets for children, because it's like you do live in a society where there are being drugs sold and given to children, and there isn't anything being done about it. You know what I'm saying? So what is to be done?
I've literally had, I was in Arizona last year, and I actually had kids walk up to me asking me for drugs. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And just
It's
no
bad down
shame
there.
in the game or anything like that. Just kids, just like, hey man, you got that well, I think they call them blues. Oh, you got them blues. They actually name whatever color they wanted. It's, hey, you got them blues, you got them reds, like kids, like 12, 13 years old, you know what I'm saying? You know, and why, you know, why are kids feeling comfortable to just ask for drugs? You know what I'm saying? They look,
Because you're
bro.
black.
You know,
As sad as
not
that
even,
is,
not even because they automatically assume, because it's been plenty of times that didn't happen where people are like, hey man, what's up? You got that stuff, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or like
You know
even
what I'm
more so, even further, where people are more comfortable selling drugs to black people because they're black.
Right.
Simply because of that. I know neighborhoods where if you black, they'll just sell it to you because you black.
Right.
Or if you're in Chicago and you white, they'll rip you up like, man, I got that $100 gram
If
for
you
you.
white, you get ripped off. It means they
That is
you should know that.
unfortunately that
You
is
better
a
send the
staple.
black
That is a
person.
staple in our culture with drugs. It's like it's always the dumb white college kids come into the hood to buy drugs all the time in all these different movies. They are, you know, we'll sell something in our neighborhood for a low price, but go to another you know what I'm saying, neighborhood and sell it 2-3 times the price.
Because they can't
Not
find
just
it.
that, but
Oh
that's
yeah,
a
you can't,
stigma.
because
That's a
you can't
stigma
be a
that comes
cop
from
as a black
propaganda.
man.
That's a stigma that comes from propaganda because
Right.
the drugs are really coming from them. They're not coming down to those neighborhoods. Maybe one or two of the users might come down there when they got $5 or $10, but the drugs are coming from there.
But you're not
They
looking
don't
at
talk about that part
you're
of the
not
stigma.
looking
Like we go up
at
there to
the
get the
we're not bringing the stuff
the
in.
box of it.
We
You
know
know what I'm saying?
that.
They come
We
down
know
here
we're
to
not
get
bringing
niggas
it
for it.
in, but we the hardest ones hit from it. We know we're not bringing the stuff in the country. You know what I'm saying? And just like Nav said right now, you know, they don't think that black men are police, and the black people that are police, maybe not now because it's probably like, you know, getting a little better. But when you see a black cop, he was automatically a sellout, automatically a snitch. You're a disgrace to your race. You know what I'm saying? Don't talk to him, you know, because when you see a black dude, you're like, yeah, he ain't no way you a cop. Because when you see that black man in the alley with a trench coat on, and the first thing somebody come up to him, he'd be like, are you a cop? Of course, the cops are going to ask you if you're a cop because they know how to throw you off.
Right.
You know, if they're an undercover cop, they're gonna, you know, I seen a movie where the cop, it was like a low budget movie. The cop was doing drugs. He was buying drugs. He was doing it in front of the dude. He was hanging out with him. They was all doing drugs together. And then when he got a bigger amount, he busted them.
But
You
that's what racism has invented, because the man is essentially white. So when you think about a black man who's like a cop or a superhero, immediately you think he a snitch. He trying to stop the ones out here. He trying to stop the Robin Hoods. You know what I'm saying? Because they don't think of him as a Robin Hood. Most people don't look at a black cop and say, oh, he black. So, you know what I'm saying? He going to understand I'm black too. And why I'm nervous when the police come. You just already looking like a cop is a cop.
Like when you look
police.
at the villains, you look at black villains. Are they even really villains?
There is one cop.
Are you talking about what's that dude's name? You talking about Jonathan Major's characters in MCU that they just got rid of him for because he's only played bad guys.
You could say him. You could say Jonathan Majors. You can say Killmonger. You could say Cottonmouth.
I wouldn't count Killmonger. Dude went out in the first.
You could say Juggernaut.
You could say Juggernaut. You could say so many people, you know, were black characters, you know, that were villains, that were looked at like villains. You know,
I think you said Cottonmouth.
Yeah. What's his name?
That dude was cold.
Yeah, but this is the thing though. We come from a hustler's mentality and background as African Americans and minorities, period. When we hit the streets, our first thing is, all right, our parents are struggling. We got to get some money. We go out and get the money, and we get to a certain point where we could step out of the game. That is already in our DNA to do that. Like, all right, I can't get a job. I can't do this. So I'm going to hustle until I could get to a point where I could step into a better role in civilization.
Yep.
You try not to get caught in the process. Yeah.
And what happens is the cycle of people in that loop where they're trying to get enough to get out. They have been brainwashed into what, once you get in, you start getting the money, then you get brainwashed while you got the money. So you buying cars and gold and jewelry and women and going to the club. And so now you don't. So now that trying to get out the game has become a lifelong journey.
It gets
where you just
you get blinded.
The lavishness of having
you get blinded
that
by
level
that.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying?
That money start coming in. You know, when you look at these people and they're talking about, yeah, man, I used to make $1 million a week, or I used to make $2 million a week, or $100K a day, and all. You know, when you hear that, why would they want to step away from that?
And then
why would I want to stop and start owning businesses? And then now I go from making $1 million a week to making maybe $50,000, $60,000 a week.
Yeah.
And see, I think that people lose the stigma of getting out the game and what that means. It doesn't mean, well, if you was making $1,000 a week, $1,000 an hour, you know what I'm saying, that you at the point now where you can say, okay, whatever job I have has to have the same income. Like, no, you have to think like getting out the game mean now you're going to be moving at a steady and slow pace enough that's livable. So where you don't have to work because you done saved your money and made investments that take you out of the work field and put you into the investor and owner field. I think that that's even now, like back then, mafias and mob bosses used to do that, where they used to be drug dealers and killers, and then they would take their money, they would invest in a restaurant or a barber shop, and then that's how they would make their money, slow and steady. Even if they stayed in the game for a little while, they had a slow and steady business where they could just slowly ease away from the business, from doing it every day to where now you might have a
Exactly.
you
And
might
then
have
they
to go handle
put the
something once a
business
week
in
or
your
once a
kid's
month.
name. Right. Put your business,
Yeah.
put that business in the kid's name. So if you go down, the kids still have the business, not,
That's
and
kind of what 50 Cent taught us too when he was talking about why he
yeah.
got kicked off, why he left Interscope originally and became independent. He was like, I sell drugs, I sell crack. You can't beat me at math. He said Jimmy Iovine was trying to rip him off for his royalties when he went diamond with his first album. And he was like, dude, I sold drugs since I was like 13 years old. You can't hide no money from me. I know where to look for it at. And he was like, it was a struggle for him, he said, because when he was getting out the game, he said, he just wanted to do one more flip, one more hit. And I was like, damn, I could understand that because you get so institutionalized with that mentality. It's like I got to get out the game because I'm making more money doing this. I'm not going to get shot again or go to jail. But at the same time, it's like this is all I've known for so long. I got to sell this last pack. I got to do one more hit on this dude that's on my block that's trying to mess with me, and you got to hand it all off. And you kind of saw that in Luke Cage as well on Netflix. And then you heard about the backlash in real life because white people on the show Powers That Be were trying to sit there and say that the show is racist because they weren't representing white people. And I was like, well, who do you think lives in Harlem? You don't see no white people in Harlem at that time.
But
And he was
but
talking
we
about the
not
gentrification.
are we represented in Batman? Are we represented in Superman? Are we
Well,
represented in any of those kind of things? So everybody,
yeah, and
when you
Batman,
think
Somebody
yeah.
said something.
this is the thing, when you think of superheroes, you either think of a white superheroes or you think of black superheroes. There's no in between.
You think of white
How
ones,
many?
but you know which ones are black.
But
And I'm
but it's suggestive that they're black, but they always weren't. Like Green
and you
Lantern.
saying
Green
that,
Lantern
Ken,
wasn't always white.
it kind
The
of
first
rings on
one,
something somebody said to me this morning. Like, because we was just talking about superheroes this morning, and they said, Batman only wore half a mask, so the police knew that he was white.
hmm yeah,
You ever
that's
think
true.
about that, yo? Because he's a vigilante. He was an
hmm
enemy to the police. They never tried to shoot him, never tried to run him over. All they did was ever just chase him and make it look like they was trying to catch him. Gordon knew they weren't going to catch him. He always made sure that he had the drop. He was a white man, but he only showed half his face so that they knew he was white. Because if he was
Luke
black,
Cage
they would have
never,
made sure he died.
yeah,
See
Luke Cage never wore a mask.
that might have been more of like a we want people to know that he's white under the mask versus them in the show particularly. You know what I'm saying? In the show,
Yeah,
it probably didn't really matter. You know what I'm saying? But we know, like, oh well, if you see Batman for the first time, you're looking at Batman, you're like, oh, Batman's cool, and then you see him, you're like, oh, he's white.
Do you think
You know,
Commissioner Gordon is black or white?
Commissioner Gordon is white as hell.
Commissioner Gordon
Always
is
been.
black. Commissioner
He
Gordon
is.
is black.
Hmm.
The original
Weird.
character for Commissioner Gordon was supposed to be a black man, even in the comic
I,
books.
I mean,
He
look,
was
they
check it
had
out. I'm gonna tell you what. I'm
They
gonna tell
had
you. Check it out.
Two Face was black also
Check
in
it
the
out.
comics and in
Look,
the thing.
Commissioner Gordon was from the hood. He was from the hood. Batman saved him. Batman made it so Commissioner Gordon could become the commissioner, so that he could have somebody in the police station who could help him out and give him leadway.
Yeah,
That's why
inside
Batman,
man.
anytime he got a problem, he only go to the call of the bat signal that's controlled by Commissioner Gordon, the only police officer that he even really trusts, the only black man, because he know yo come from the hood. He gonna understand loyalty more than anything.
Well, same thing on the Flash. The Flash only trusts Joe West, his stepdad, because every time if you watch the show, you see him only give him black ideologies and
But Joe
you
wasn't
know
black in the comics though.
no, not in the comics, but in the show, they got Jesse James Martin to play him. And every time he spoke to him, he always gave him a black lesson. And it was a trip to me to watch that because I got it immediately. But you could see Barry struggle with a couple of the lessons because here he is trying to go after his stepsister, who he's always loved. And he got to understand if you're going to go after her, you're gonna have to understand that you got to do it the black way because this is just what it is. It's not nothing racist, but this is how it is. She's not gonna understand you. And when he gave those black ideologies, it was a trip to me because he didn't put no whiteness in it, and that was one of the reasons why Jesse L. Martin got such backlash originally, because they're like, why is he only speaking to him as a black man? I was like, because he's a black dad raising this white boy in his home. He ain't gonna sit there and feed him no damn Kraft macaroni and cheese. He's gonna teach that boy put some bacon on that and put it in the oven.
That's
Give
why
him some oodles and noodles.
You know, that's why, like, when you think of kids that are raised around, you know, kids that aren't necessarily black, raised around you know, black kids, you know, black parents, you know, when they say things like, because I know it's a big thing on tag right now. I don't know if you guys is seen it, like, who's accepted to say the N-word. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you see white
Like,
dudes wearing do-rags to
you know,
cookouts all the time.
So, like, we let them in the door. You know, we laugh about it. You know,
and that's really not the question. The question isn't who can say it, because anybody can say it.
Yeah, anybody can. It's physically could say it, but is it acceptable after you say it?
The question really is who is okay with white people or people of other races saying nigga? Who is okay with it? That's the real question.
Yeah.
And is it okay?
Exactly. I mean, is it okay?
Easy E once upon a time said, I have a problem with nobody saying as long as you're coming at me respectfully with it.
Yep.
Well, that's my nigga. You know what I'm saying? What's going on? He's like, but when you start putting a ER on that, or you starting to wear a do-rag for the wrong reasons, then we got a damn problem. I was like, yeah, you got a point.
I always tell my people, I would prefer if I didn't even say it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I struggle with it too. Like, I would rather not say it myself, you know?
Well, I like to say it because it's obnoxious. It's obnoxious, and you know what I'm saying, it's rude, and that is definitely how I like to feel, especially as a strong, confident black man. Like, I like to give people that intensity where, you know, I'm strong, I'm confident, rude, and cocky and arrogant. Because what are you if you're not conceptual about yourself, if you don't love yourself to a magnitude that's greater than somebody else can, if you don't stand out, if you don't make sure you're heard? And I think sometimes it needs to be heard like that. I think sometimes even as well, when you're showing signs of endearment to somebody that you care about, you know what I'm saying, you need that kind of energy for them, so that they feel love, so that they feel a part of something. You know what I'm saying? Because there's plenty of races that I know that's like, they hear us calling each other that, you know what I'm saying, and they want to be a nigga. They want to get dapped up and be part of the gang. Not because of our color, but because we're cooler friends.
Yep. You see white kids all the time trying to wear afros, and you see people in the UK steal our swag all the time, dude. You go to the British country, you don't see a single thing that's not American over there where they're trying to rap. They're trying to crip walk now in front of their little, like, Big Ben Tower. You know, Japan doing the same thing, and I'm like, y'all don't understand what you're doing.
Japan got drill music.
Right.
Yeah.
Trapanese. That's what it's called. Trapanese.
It's a trip to you because you're like, y'all ain't doing it right, but thank you for trying.
But the thing is, can you really tell them they're not doing it right? Because you got to think they're literally studying us, emulating every little thing that we do. You ever think of things like choreographers, right? Right. You see the team behind the person singing are all black, but the choreographer's white. Who taught the choreographer how to dance like that? We did.
Black person. That's fine. But it don't mean that it's done correctly. They put their own little mayonnaise in there and stuff, and it gets messed up. Like, they do. It's like doing, dude. It's like doing a cha-cha. It's like doing a cha-cha slide or the electric slide at a wedding. People, you know what I'm saying? People just now understanding what the hell the electric slide really means. You know what I'm saying? What the message behind that saying is, and they just thought they were talking about dancing. It's like, no, dude. It's about something else.
Yeah,
and
I don't.
So Navi,
they can't even say it around me.
Because you can't control what somebody else say. I live in North Carolina, and you know, my uncle Bubba, he's one of the he is a grandmaster of the Ku Klux Klan.
It's
and you know,
me,
he probably is one of the few
Prince
people I've seen have more respect for black people. You know what I'm saying? Even being a racist, where he wouldn't allow anybody to call us niggas. You know what I'm saying? So, but it doesn't necessarily mean he didn't say it, and because you can't control what people say, you can't control what people do. You can't say, because I allow you to say this, it's my fault if you say something else. Like, it's not. You know, it's your fault if you say something else. You know what I'm saying? If I trust you enough to just call me a nigga, and then you start using the ER somewhere else, that's your fault. That's against your character, not mine. My character.
Everybody's not gonna do it the same way. You're saying I'm gonna correct you every time. And I'm gonna
Yeah.
look at you crazy in public every time. It don't matter. And you can't be my homie and say that around me. You know what I'm saying?
Nope.
It don't matter. You know what I'm saying? But it's not gonna be the same for everybody else. There's gonna be the people that allow it, and it really goes off of you. You know what I'm saying? What are you allowing in your circumference? I'm not gonna allow it. So me and Egyptian and Ken could be hanging out, and one of their friends said that they allowed to say that, and I'm still gonna say something about it.
I'm going to say something too,
I
and
ain't
Yeah.
not
gonna
even
lie.
because whether I allow it or not, but it says a lot about another person's respect for people. You don't know me or none of the people I'm with, and you feel comfortable just saying it because somebody else allows it. How do you know I'm not bothered by
Which
it?
one?
How do you know I'm not completely racist against people saying that? So
Look,
you got to
Nav,
pick and choose your battles. You know what I'm
if
saying?
they say GA or ER, if they say GA, I'm gonna correct them.
Right.
If they say ER, they might be laying on the floor.
I'll be completely honest with you. I was playing on stream with somebody one time with me and my homie from Harlem, and we had a white dude.
Not open.
I'm not gonna drop his gamer tag because that's messed up. But we were talking to each other when he went away to go get some food, and we are like, let's see if we can get him to say nigga. And he's like, you think we can? I was like, hell yeah, we can. Just wait. So we're sitting there, just back and forth, just talking, and then like before long, he dropped it, and we just started busting up. And he immediately got embarrassed because he realized what had happened. I was like, dude, we were just fucking with you, but sorry, excuse me. He's like, but don't do that again. Like, it's
Nope.
okay if you want to be down with us. We're your homie, but don't do that. Don't do that because we can't control what's going to happen to you if somebody else hears us on this mic and they find out what your IP address is. Because people know how to do that stuff. They trace your IP address through gaming and they find out where you live, and they'll
You
get you.
gotta have a heart, because this the thing. Far as you're talking about gaming, when we get on video games, we know little kids. Everybody thinks that that's cool in a video game because they're behind.
Skeet, skeet.
They're at home doing that, and they're gonna just go crazy and say whatever they want to say. We know they're not gonna say it in person. You know
Of
what I'm
course not.
saying? And we might know, because I have a close friend that grew up with people that say that all the time. You know what I'm saying? So like I've told him before, like, hey, look, bro, try not to use that word in front of me because it's a little triggering it. You know what I'm saying? But
I
you
mean,
go off of, this is who I grew up with. I had black foster parents. All my foster brothers and sisters were black. We all grew up saying it. Everybody around me says it. Just don't say it around me. You want to say it around your friends? Go ahead and say it around your friends.
I mean, we
Don't
talking
say it
about
around me.
PlayStation, man. I know people who
But
caught
on
fades off of
online,
Madden.
yeah, but online, anybody's gonna say anything. You got,
Hmm.
just like social media. When you're in the comments, people are gonna say anything in the comments because they can.
Hmm.
So
Fact. So I mean,
you
I
can't
kind of
try to
exclude.
govern people on the
I kind of
internet.
exclude like
Keyboard
PlayStation
gangsters.
and social media because you, like I said, you can't control what people say, and you can't control what people say. You could be insulted by it or whatever, but you just can't control it. You know what I'm saying? So, but I also, like I said, I think it's more important how certain people take it. Like, remember, even if we was hanging
Major
out
league,
and
bro.
I
It don't
knew one
matter
of
who
my,
you are. If you're not
if I
black and
knew a
you're
white
saying it,
dude
it's a
and he was
problem.
saying it, you know what I'm saying? He would
Yep.
say it all the time or something like that, and we got around you, whether I knew that you was okay with it or not, I would hope that he knows not to just say it around anybody. You know what I'm saying? I
Right.
would hope that he knows not to just think that he could just say it because I'm okay with it. Because I would feel like you don't have any respect for me if you think that I'm okay with somebody else not being okay with it. Because I don't care.
Right.
Say whatever you want. You know what I'm saying? I'm unbothered. I'm like I said, I know some real racist people say it all the time. You can't do nothing but beat them up or kill them. You can't
That's
do
the
Right.
nothing
same
but
thing
one of
that.
the two. So anything else beyond that, like you're just
But
wasting your time.
are
Like,
you gonna go around? Are you gonna go around tracking people down that say the N word and beating up every
Nah.
person you hear saying the N word? Or are you gonna try to educate them on the
no, but I
situation?
have punched somebody in the
Just
face for saying
educating.
it before. A few
Yeah,
times.
and then most people back down because they're cowards. But I mean, that's the same message that we see conveyed in other comic movies too. Like take Blade for instance, the original Blade from 1998. I ain't talking about that corny cornball part two and part three and stuff. The original one, you know what I'm saying? He was like niggas always try to ice skate uphill when he threw that last syringe in that dude's forehead and killed him. And that was a great example of like black excellence to me because Blade represents like the 70s Black Panthers, but he was a daywalking vampire. And then you got Luke Cage on the other side where they finally teamed up and met each other. Where Luke Cage is like, I'm gonna teach you the African diaspora and the lessons of everything I'm trying to show you. Because in the show, you see Cottonmouth just being a gangster, and Luke Cage is like, how could you do this to our people when we're just trying to, have something to do right by? When Cottonmouth was like, I don't care if they got $1, I want 50 cents. And he just had him like kicking people's doors in and just taking from them. And I was like, damn, that's cold hearted.
And
then you saw,
I'm glad you touched on Blade too. That's dope too, because Blade is the first black vampire to not die. And only the second one that was actually a serious vampire. The first
Right.
one was Blackula. The second one was Eddie Murphy in Vampire in Brooklyn.
Brooklyn. And black,
yeah,
they never made a part two to Vampire in Brooklyn because they could have, because his ghoul actually put on the ring at the end and transformed into the next vampire. They could have kept that
yeah,
going, but if it would have been anybody else, they would have kept it going. You know what I'm saying?
But
yeah.
they
Now they're
didn't make
talking
it.
about,
They didn't really make it as serious. You know what I mean? They made it extremely comedic, and even
Yeah,
dealing with
it's Eddie
Blade,
Murphy.
like
It's gonna be a
they
funny
made
movie.
Blade originally wasn't a superhero.
yeah, he was
He wasn't
anti-hero.
a superhero. When that first movie came out, Blade wasn't a superhero. He was just a vampire.
Yep,
That was it. He became a
and he was
superhero after that movie because it was so
robbing
good.
people. Yeah,
Right.
he was
Because
robbing
at
people
first
for the money that they needed,
he was like Batman, vigilante.
taking their Rolexes and stuff. Same thing with Luke
They don't
Cage.
call Batman a superhero. They call him a
Yes,
No, he's a
superhero
vigilante. He's not a
in the
superhero. He's a
cartoon
vigilante.
form.
he just
Cartoon form, he's a superhero, but on
Anti-hero.
the
That's the
other,
word.
yeah,
Anti-hero.
Yeah, he just got the money that he needed to do what he needed with the gadgets. Like same thing with Luke Cage. Like a lot of people don't remember when Luke Cage, before he joined the Defenders, he had to start charging people for his services. There's a comic where he actually saved this old lady from getting robbed, where he punched this dude in the face and sent him into a wall. And she was like, "Thank you, Luke Cage." He turned around, he's like, "That'll be $500." And she just
And
looked
right,
the
at him and was
crazy
like,
thing about Batman, and Batman represents a strong metaphor about our government and our system. He's rich. That's his only superpower. He has so much money. You don't even know Bruce Wayne is Batman, and he's the only other person rich as Batman in the whole place. That's how rich he is. He's so rich that he could put a cloak over everybody's eyes to see how rich he is, and you can't tell who is who.
Morgan
right.
Freeman said it to that white dude in that movie. He's like, you think that you can blackmail somebody who beats up people at night and is a billionaire and can't use
Right.
his money to have you silenced? Good luck. And then his son actually became Batwing, the second Batwing, after Batman incorporated in the comics. So we have a black Batman now, but not really.
Yeah. So man, it's a lot, and the convo could go on and on about the same thing because we experience this every day. You know what I'm saying?
Well, we're getting
But
women coming up in comics too,
yeah,
so that's good.
yeah, that's good. So we'll have to put a fork in it, but we'll bring it back because there's still a lot to unpack on that
Yo, you
situation.
ain't even asked all the questions, did you?
I didn't even ask him. I
No,
probably got through. I
I'm
probably
sorry.
got through two. You know what I'm saying? Probably got through two, to be
This is
honest.
super dope conversation. This was super dope.
That's what I'm saying. It could keep going. You know what I'm saying?
I
So
might
Don't
we'll
forget
wear
have
I
to.
might
Obama.
wear a putty
Obama
suit the next time. I might be a putty when I come the next time.
Don't forget
Right.
Obama got turned into a superhero too when he fought
Yep. See,
Superman and when he
we
fought
had
Muhammad Ali.
questions about Green Lantern also. Didn't even ask him. You know what I'm saying?
John
So
Stewart.
we'll be back. You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't even get to ask like what characters that weren't necessarily black that were black, like the Martian Manhunter,
Piccolo from
Piccolo.
Dragon Ball
You know
Z.
what I'm saying?
Piccolo was
You
definitely
know?
black.
Yeah.
That dude
So
fighting in
He
what
would
was
watch
that?
everybody fight and just watch, even though he had more power than there. He would. I'm just watching.
right,
I'm
right.
not
So
getting
Yeah,
involved.
because he's a
yes,
tactician. The way his mindset worked was crazy. Like if you saw him in the dead zone, I sent you that clip where so he got jumped in the beginning of that movie, and it was pretty messed up because they really did jump him real hard, and it reminded me of like the stuff that what happened in like prison or out here in gangs. They fucked him up bad, and I'm talking about bad jumping, and nobody came to his defense. So when he caught them slipping at their lair, he just knew who he was going to take out first, and he fought that dude Sancho, and he just used all
if
hands
you
on him.
notice, every time Piccolo got in a fight, he got jumped.
He had to get jumped.
Most of the time he got in a fight, he got jumped. He got
He
jumped
had to.
first. Before the fight started, he always
Yeah,
got
that's
jumped.
true.
Before the fight actually started, he always got jumped.
He had to.
But he's
You're
still
not taking down no big strong black man by yourself.
Yeah.
We
well
call that
now
we
he
call
don't
that an
need
old Joe. You
And
ain't
he
finna
was
take down no
always with
old
the
Joe.
kid. And he was always with the kids. He always had the young kids with him, mentoring them, and
training him. Yeah.
training them and stuff. And then, all right, I ain't gonna get into that one
No,
because I
you're
had a
right.
whole
You're
thing.
right.
I
He
had a
had
whole thing
Pam.
for
Yeah,
Piccolo.
and he had
Piccolo
her
is
her dad,
the father figure. You know what I'm saying? But because people say it all the time, Piccolo raised Trunks and Gohan.
which is a trip because he's their same age, and he pushed him. I remember in his last movie he was in before he got his new form, where he got that rugged chin and like leveled up. he was telling him, he's like, I don't understand why you stopped training just because you're a scientist and you got a job now, which is what your mama wanted. The earth still needs you and your daughter needs somebody to look up to. I can't keep babysitting her forever. I got things I got to do too, man.
Right.
It's like
Jamila.
the equivalency of grandparents, your parents being like, I'm a grandma now, but still.
Salute. Yeah. So, all right, man. I appreciate you guys coming again for
Hey,
Wednesday.
appreciate
You know
you,
what I'm
man. You
saying?
know the vibe, man.
We'll be back. You know what I'm saying? We're here every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern. We'll have another topic next week. Um,
Always.
another
Yeah, we need a part two there.
close out Black History Month, you know, so we'll have another one. But we'll definitely get together. I'll check you guys both schedule and everything, and we'll get another episode going.
You know what it is. Fave us
You know,
all.
You already
yeah.
know.
Share
Hey,
this if you
appreciate y'all for
can.
coming. Ken, it was a pleasure to meet you, man. You dope. I definitely favored you. Mir, you already know. You send me the flyer. I'll come anytime.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Jamila.
Definitely.
You know what
Before we
I'm saying?
get out of here, just want to let you guys know Ghostbusters Afterlife comes out on the 20th. Please, if you can, go watch it to support Ernie Hudson. Um, I just wanted to make a quick anecdote. His character got overshadowed a lot in the first movie. A lot of people didn't know he was supposed to be a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force, and they cut his lines and his backstory specifically to make him just as a black man looking for a regular paycheck because they didn't want to give him that much script time. But in this new one, he became, in the third movie that just dropped, he became a
Mm-hmm.
multimillionaire and fixed up the Ghostbusters and brought them back together. So in his fourth movie, he's
Salute.
actually showing more of what he can do as a black man. He's actually the unofficial now leader of the Ghostbusters, financing them and getting them back on track. So it's a black man leading the charge this time. And it's definitely something I'm looking forward to because Ernie Hudson's getting his just due because he's always had two big roles, but this was his biggest thing that helped him get put on. So it's definitely a big deal. So if you guys can support that movie, it's going to be nice.
Right.
Definitely.
At least go buy a ticket. Even if you don't go watch it, just buy a ticket. Buy a
It's going
ticket
to
to
be
say
good.
hello.
It's gonna be worth
All right.
watching.
Oh
All
yeah,
right, y'all. Yeah, man. Hey, fave the guests, y'all. Go check them out. I think Ken streaming more Egyptian always live. Go check him out. Got some dope content coming. You know. All right, y'all.
Yeah, Vicky.
Hmm.
Peace out, King.
See ya.